Hi everyone, I'm here in the office today looking at the Jabra PanaCast 50. So you might already be familiar with this unit. It's been on the market for a few years now. However, it's just worth bearing in mind that in the last 12 to 18 months, there's been all sorts of firmware updates that have added new features, different tracking options, different layouts, things like that. And there are some newer options that are worth looking at around how you can set up the meeting room, the environment that the device is in. So I'm going to hook the unit up. We can have a look through the Jabra Direct application and have a look at what some of those settings look like when you're configuring them. And then we'll also take a look at, we'll put the system in a call. I'll be using Microsoft Teams today. We'll put the system in a call, see how it looks and sounds on the other side of a call. And this is the USB peripheral all-in-one microphone, camera, speaker bar for the PanaCast 50. There is a newer equivalent of this device which uses the same chassis, but it's an appliance device that can run as a Microsoft Teams room for Android. That's not what this one is. This is just the standard PanaCast 50 USB peripheral, and I'm going to go hook it up now and we'll take a look and see what that looks like. So where I've got this system set up at the moment, I've just set up the unit directly in front of a screen here, and the idea is that you can see the full panoramic view of the 180-degree camera down here. So why this works so well in small rooms is because it means that right now, for example, I'm very close to the screen. So if I'm here over to the side of the unit, even though I'm right next to the unit, I'm effectively still in the shot. And if I had things like the intelligent framing enabled, that would still be able to frame and find me. And again, even if I move right around the other side of the device, I'm still in shot, even though effectively if I were in a meeting room, I'd be very, very close to the screen. What that means is if you've got a small meeting room with a large screen on the wall and one of these units mounted underneath, then effectively, even when people are sat if it's a 4-person huddle room, even people sat quite close to the screen are still able to be caught in the camera. And there aren't really many other cameras on the market at the moment that are doing this sort of feature especially not on a bar of this size, to be able to have such a wide field of view that captures so much of the room is very impressive, and that it's really one of the unique selling points of the PanaCast 50 over some of the other bars designed for smaller huddle rooms. And what I'll do just as a quick example then is I'll pop the intelligent zoom back on, and so what we should see is that's going to zoom and find me. And so again, if I'm stood here right off to the side, that camera's still able to find me. I'm on a bit of an angle because I am effectively looking sideways onto the screen, and then if I loop around and stand at the other side of the system again, then again that system is going to find me, it's going to frame me, and I'm going to be able to be presented into the call. So we've got the PanaCast 50 set up at the end of the desk in the room here now. So for the purpose of this demo, we've just used the table stand and we've just plonked the unit right on the end of the desk. And you can see this room's kind of designed for up to 4 or 5 people. So kind of the size and space of this room, sort of up towards a medium room, not quite up to a large room, which this device should be more than capable of handling. So at the moment, we don't have any framing enabled. You're just looking at the standard room view that comes from the camera. And so I'm going to go ahead and with the remote, I'm going to enable framing. And to begin with, this is going to enable the intelligent zoom feature, which is the PanaCast equivalent of group frame. So what that's going to do is when I push the button, zoom in on me and Johnny here in the room, and it's going to do its best to crop out any extra ceiling or walls and things like that, and try and give both of us a good view here in the room. So this version isn't doing any sort of speaker tracking or anything like that. What it will do is if I move around a little bit, so if I come over here slightly out of shot to the back of the room, then that should reposition to try and get us both in here. Or as another example, if I'm sat down here at the table, I should mention the audio that you're hearing here on the call as well is the microphone's being picked up by the PanaCast 50, and then I'm streaming that out through a Microsoft Teams call that I'm then recording. So you're hearing what this would sound like if you were on the far end of the call. So if you just want to step out of the room for a moment. Yep, can do. And we'll see what that looks like when I'm in here on my own. If I give that a second, you can see that's positioned now for just me here in the room. And then I'll bring Johnny back in. And we'll watch that reframe one more time. So when Johnny comes and sits back at the table, we'll just see how that repositions. And so you can see straight away there, it's grouped as both so that we're both here in the room. Cool, so I'm going to flip the settings over now. So the next option we'll look at is the virtual director, which is the speaker track equivalent that this camera comes built in. The system does have to reboot to enable those settings. So I'll get that set up and then we'll come back and do that test. So we're back in the room now. We've got the system set up in the virtual director settings. So what you're going to see is, like what just happened here, when I start talking, the system's going to know that I'm the primary speaker and it's going to track on me. And if both people are talking at the same time, it'll try and go back to that kind of group shot. And if I stop talking, Johnny starts talking, then what you'll see is it'll cut over to Johnny instead.
So yeah, I will start talking now and then it'll see me as the primary speaker. You can see there it goes into the wide shot and then it will track onto me following that location of me. So now you can see and hear me as the active speaker. And if Ben starts to talk, I guess, at the same time as me.
So then another thing that we'll just do as a quick test, if I start talking, that system jumps to track me. But then if I move around in the room a little bit, where is that going to go and how's that going to react? So if I stand here at the back of the room and I'm the person talking, it's still going to find me, it's going to track me over here. And then again, if Johnny starts talking.
1, 2, 1, 2, testing, testing. 1, 2. I will be the primary speaker now, and then it tracks us both inside the group framing option. And then back to me because Ben stopped talking.
So that's the virtual director setting. So we've looked at the intelligent zoom, which is like group framing. We've looked at the virtual director, which is like speaker tracking. Now we're going to flip over and look at the dynamic composition mode, which is kind of like the people framing or symmetry from some of the other vendors that you might have heard of, where it's going to try and give each of us a box, separate us, give us as much screen as it can possibly afford to give us, and we'll have a quick look and see what that looks like by comparison. So here we are now in the dynamic composition setting, and so like you can see, the feed's been split straight down the middle so that we can both be given as much of that screen time as we can each get. So on the Jabra PanaCast 50, the dynamic composition will split up to 4 quadrants, so you can have up to 4 participants each with their own kind of corner of the call to give that more grid-like view that people are a bit more used to seeing now on Teams calls or on Zoom calls, those types of things. Again, if I just move to the back of the room, and we'll just see how that works me around a little bit if things were to change in the room. So if I'm here at the back of the room, we can see that second frame is going to try and reposition find me. It's still trying to keep me and Johnny a similar shape and size in the room. If I leave the room, if I leave the meeting for a little while,
so now you'd expect it to go to just a single feed, and that will be myself because I'm the only one in the room now. But then if Ben walks back into the room, we'll see that the framing then both of us like before.
So there we are. That's the dynamic composition view. So we've seen the intelligent zoom, which is like the group framing, the virtual director, which is like people tracking, and then this setting is the dynamic composition. So that's the Jabra PanaCast 50. Absolutely perfect for your small huddle rooms, small meeting spaces, in particular because of that 180-degree field of view. Again, it can support up to medium rooms. The speakers in here are more than capable for that size of room. As you go into a large room, you might be looking at a more integrated system. One thing that I didn't mention that's worth bearing in mind is that the 180-degree field of view that you get from the 3 cameras at the front, that's the reason that Microsoft have chosen the PanaCast 50 as one of the cameras that they put forward for the new Microsoft signature rooms, which are designed for front row. So if you look at some of the Microsoft designs for the signature rooms, you'll see a camera bar, not all the way against the wall, but kind of in the middle of the tables, designed to see all the people sat around that kind of curved desk design. And they've put the PanaCast 50 forward for that type of design because of that 180-degree camera that I keep mentioning. So that's it. That's the Jabra PanaCast 50. It's a great unit. If you are interested in having a look at one of these devices, setting it up in your environment, coming and seeing one in person, getting hands-on with it, then email at info@istmsolutions.com and we'll absolutely see what we can do for you.